Well, dear participants, colleagues, we hope everyone is connected. We would like to remind you that simultaneous translation to Russian will work all this time, and we ask you not to turn off the original sound and to select English or Russian language in the settings in the bottom of the screen, the globe icon. Please do it. Дорогие участники, коллеги, я надеюсь, все подключаются. Хотелось бы напомнить, что на протяжении всей нашей встречи будет работать синхронный перевод с английского на русский. Для этого выберите в строке панелей иконку глобуса, не отключайте оригинальный звук и выберите язык, на котором вы хотите слушать выступления спикеров. Пожалуйста, сделайте это сейчас. If you understood me, please show me the reaction, some emotion. Okay. Well, good afternoon again, dear participants of the first online meeting of the Creative Cooperation Program, UNESCO Creative Cities of BRICS Countries, Art Together. I'm glad to welcome you from the studio located in the Russian city of Ulyanovsk. My name is Diana Kovela. I am the Program Director of the Russia BRICS Youth Project Office and the Deputy Head of Creative Industries Foundation of the Ulyanovsk region. And now I would like to ask you to introduce yourself and to write in our Zoom chat, what is your name? What country do you represent? What is your type of activity? And your email. Please write. What is your name? What country do you represent? What is your type of activity? And your email, please. Continue to do it. The organizers of the program are the non-profit organization Center for Innovation and Communications, the Russia BRICS Youth Project Office, and the Alexander Gorchakov Public Diplomacy Fund. Dear participants, today is our first meeting within the framework of the Creative Cooperation Program, UNESCO Creative Cities of BRICS Countries, Art Together. We are planning 6 online meetings from July to December 2022. Within the framework of the program, 40 experts will share the successful experience of the communities of their cities, which are part of UNESCO network. Today, we will meet 8 experts who will present their creative cities. After the experts' speeches, I will read out the questions that you can write in the Zoom chat throughout the meeting. Based on the materials of the program, an electronic booklet will be published with a description of successful cases and information about the project participants. We will certainly send these booklets to your email and to your municipalities in December, in the finish of our program. So our first meeting is called Why My City Has Become a UNESCO Creative City. And our first speaker represents the city of Ulyanovsk, which initiated a program of creative cooperation. Tatiana Ivshina, Executive Director of the Creative Industries Foundation of the Ulyanovsk region, Ulyanovsk, City of Literature, Russia.
Добрый день, дорогие друзья. Меня зовут Ившина Татьяна. Я исполнительный директор фонда «Ульяновск. Культурная столица». И, наверное, самый короткий ответ на вопрос, почему мой город стал креативным городом ЮНЕСКО, звучит так. потому что мой город, в моем городе живут самые творческие и креативные люди. Ну, а если так более-менее развернуто, то, конечно, прекрасный город Симбирск был основан в 1648 году, это середина 17 века, то есть город древний, город исторический. В 1924 году он был переименован в честь Владимира Ленина в город Ульяновск. И мы находимся на берегу крупнейшей русской реки Волга, примерно в 900 километрах от столицы России, город Москва. В городе проживает 625 тысяч населения, а в целом в нашем регионе 1 200 000. Это вот, чтобы было представление, что такое город Ульяновск. Конечно, когда мы подавали заявку в креативные города ЮНЕСКО, мы рассказывали о нашем историческом наследии, о тех писателях, о том литературном наследии, которым гордимся. Это и Николай Карамзин, историограф, Иван Гончаров, автор бессмертных произведений «Обломов», «Обрыв», «Обыкновенная история». Это современник Александра Пушкина Николай Языков, это герой войны 1812 года Денис Давыдов, это современные писатели, каждому из которых в нашем городе посвящены или название улиц, или есть музей, или есть библиотеки имени этих людей. То есть в топонимике города литературное наследие отражено очень ярко и значимо. В ноябре 2015 года мы узнали о том, что наша заявка рассмотрена положительно, и на Петербургском культурном форуме тогда генеральный секретарь ЮНЕСКО госпожа Бокова объявила, что первый российский город стал членом международной сети креативных городов. Конечно, этому способствовала большая работа, и накануне мы получили статус на российском уровне как самый читающий регион России. Для нас это тоже была очень важная оценка на федеральном уровне, на национальном уровне, в том числе за проект «12 симбирских литературных апостолов», когда каждый месяц года носил имя одного из выдающихся деятелей литературы. Но программа была интересна еще и тем, что кроме литературы, книгоиздания, книжных магазинов, в программу были включены писатели, музыканты, художники, театральные деятели. То есть это стало программой всего культурного сообщества нашего города. На сегодняшний день уже имея опыт реализации культурных проектов, международных литературных проектов, мы понимаем, что многообразие различных форм деятельности заинтересовывает и включает в работу литературного города самых разных участников. Безусловно, международные и российские литературные премии – это наша гордость, потому что благодаря этому мы узнаем новых писателей, новых авторов, и о нас узнает как можно больше литературного сообщества. В частности, Международная литературная премия имени Гончарова, которая охватывает практически мировое литературное сообщество. Это проекты «Литературный трамвай», «Литературные остановки», то есть когда литература становится частью городских пространств. Это билингвальные проекты, когда издаются книги на 2 языках, а в 2018 году мы сделали впервые билингвальный спектакль театральный, тоже с нашими партнерами из литературного города ЮНЕСКО Геттельберга, Германия. И этот спектакль, который идет одновременно на русском и немецком языках, был показан на нескольких театральных фестивалях. Нам очень приятно участвовать в сетевых проектах, которые осуществляют литературные города ЮНЕСКО, например, проект «Писатель в городе», в котором наши писатели ульяновские рассказывали о тех местах, любимых местах города, где они обычно работают. Каждый третий горожанин становится участником различных литературных активностей. Это различные литературные фестивали, это книжные магазины, выставки, которые работают в нашем городе. Ну и не могу сказать, почему БРИКС, потому что действительно Диана сказала, в городе создан проектный офис международного молодежного сотрудничества со странами БРИКС. И нам очень хочется вот эти две программы, можно сказать, да, объединить. Поэтому вот такая первая встреча, на которую мы пригласили представителей креативных городов стран БРИКС, возможно, нам даст импульс каким-то новым проектам, потому что мы уже второй год в этом году проводим молодежный лагерь БРИКС, и, возможно, одна из тем молодежного лагеря для молодежи стран БРИКС будет в том числе связано с литературой, с литературным творчеством. Мы всегда открыты к сотрудничеству с другими креативными городами сети, не только литературными, потому что наши партнерские связи охватывают и город Берлин, город дизайна, город Ливерпуль, город музыки. Мы находим возможности сотрудничать с различными сообществами креативных индустрий, представителями творческих сообществ и других городов. И очень рады, что в сообщество российских городов в этой международной сети присоединились теперь и город Каргополь, приветствуем вас, Санкт-Петербург, Казань, 4 российских города, которые представляют каждый свое направление. Очень надеемся, что в наших новых проектах, которые мы будем делать в этом году, в следующем году, вы сможете к нам присоединиться. Это международная арт-резиденция креативных индустрий, молодежный лагерь БРИКС, писательская резиденция, которая у нас работала, но из-за ковида немножко приостановила свою работу. И очень надеемся, что писатели из ваших городов тоже примут в этом участие. Спасибо большое.
Thank you, dear Tatiana. Let me remind all the participants that this was the presentation of the Russian city of Ulyanovsk. Dear friend, if you have any questions or suggestions on cooperation, you may write them in the Zoom chat. I would like to emphasize that our program is aimed at stimulating intellectual interaction between participating cities, exchanging experience in the field of culture and art, and implementing joint international projects. And now we are going to Brazil to find out why the city of Florianopolis has entered the UNESCO Creative Cities Network. Let me present our next speaker, Nathalia Bernardinetti, manager of the Gastronomic Observatory, member of the management group of the UNESCO program Creative City of Gastronomy, Florianopolis. Florianopolis, City of Gastronomy. Please stick to the time, 8 minutes per expert. Nathalia?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Diana.
Can you hear me, Nathalia?
Yes. Can you hear me? Yes. Thank you, Diana. Thank you, everyone. I guess I'll share my screen. Florianopolis, it's part of, is member of the network since 2014. Florianopolis is located in the south of Brazil, occupying an insular and a continental part. In general terms, today Florianopolis has more than 516,000 inhabitants, with an economy based on technology, tourism, and service. Our people are formed, like much of Brazil, on the tripod: indigenous peoples, Africans, and Europeans, receiving Azorians and other Portuguese peoples, as well as Italians, Germans, Greeks, and also migrants from the Middle East. Pre-pandemic data showed more than 2,000 bars and restaurants in the city. And among the food production present in Florianopolis, there is an emphasis on mariculture, artisanal fishing, native bee honey, and the use of cassava flour. Well, 4 points will help us to answer why Florianopolis became a UNESCO Creative City. The first one, cultural diversity. Florianopolis is a mixture of different peoples. The Carijós, a group of native peoples from whom we inherited the use of cassava flour, the use and the manufacturing of the ceramics, is also formed by Africans and Europeans and the new waves of internal and external migrants. The influence of the older potteries and the new utilitarian tableware scene, increasingly present in the city's restaurants and on the tables of the consumers, is remarkable. The cultural heritage is also marked in the bobbin lace, which is distributed throughout the city. Florianopolis celebrates food through festivities throughout the year. Berbigão do Boca is a celebration around the cockle, a mollusk that we already had in abundance in Florianopolis and was present at the table of the natives. The party is of such proportions for the city that it marks the official opening of the carnival. There are recipe contests with cockles and celebrated personalities who stood out in favor of the city. The Oyster Festival, Fina Ostra, is also of great proportion, which sells over 15,000 dozens oysters during a week, the same amount as in the 3 summer months. The other point is registration and use of local products. The artisanal mullet fishing activity, which now takes place between May and July, was registered as a heritage site in Santa Catarina, the state of Florianopolis. Mullet fishing is carried out all over the island, reaching more than 200 tons per year. There are more than 2,000 people involved in the activities. The other one, cassava flour mills, are also registered. Florianopolis already had more than 300 mills. Today it's about 15, just for family consumption or community, but also very present in the food culture. The registration of oysters from Florianopolis is in process in the category of denomination of origin. Regarding the use of local products, I draw attention to what we find frequently and with variety in restaurants in Florianopolis: mullet, bluefish, and oysters, and the products that have been growing in terms of use and production, and have a lot of space for gastronomic uses. Native bee honey and products from the mountain regions such as Araucaria, Angustifolia, pine nuts. The third point, professional qualification and research. We are a region that has a large number of universities and colleges carrying out research on food, tourism, and service. There are about 6 universities around us. These are courses with training in cooking and gastronomy that are changing the current scenario to a qualified tourism. Research benefits the network of gastronomy from different uses, from native fruits to utilitarian ceramics. The oyster is also a great research example for us. Research with oysters began in the 1970s and it began to have economic results in the late 1990s. Today, we're starting researching in the use of macroalgae, Capaficus alvarezi, exploring its potentials for use in gastronomy. The fourth point, here the emphasis in mariculture. One of the results of the research culminates with the mariculture scenario in the city. We are the largest oyster producer in the country. About 95% of the oyster consumed in Brazil originates here in Florianopolis and region. We have the largest of marine farms with sanitary certificates, which allows the circulation and the sale of the these products to other regions. So those were the points that brought us here. Briefly, these are some points for the present and the future. These are some laws of the municipal laws after the UNESCO Creative City program started in the city and has strengthened the sector. In scientific and cultural publication, the theme of gastronomy, food, and creative economy has become increasingly present. And for the future, the city will have a popular restaurant for the vulnerable population. National Service for Learning, Commercial Learning, which is a school, will include educational gardens in training in cooking and gastronomy courses so that students can familiarize themselves with products, cycles, and seasonality. The city has sought in its actions the balance between tradition and modernity, respecting and registering its traditional crafts and know-hows. It seeks to be a city of knowledge and innovation with retention of this intellectual capital and increasingly stimulating seasonality and the use of products straight from the farm and from the sea to the table. Thanks so much. These are my professional contacts and the address of the Gastronomy Observatory.
Thank you. Thank you, dear Nathalia, for your wonderful presentation. Dear participants, please don't hesitate to ask questions in the Zoom chat. The UNESCO Creative Cities Network was established in 2004. Currently, the program unites almost 300 cities from 80 countries of the world, representing one of 7 areas: gastronomy, decorative and applied arts and folk art, design, cinematography, literature, digital art, and music. And now I give the floor to our speaker, Thembelile Mpungose, Research and Policy Development Coordinator of SABIA, South African BRICS Youth Association, Durban, City of Literature, South Africa.
Thank you very much. Greetings to everyone. I hope I'm audible enough. Thank you. Greetings to all the participants. Greetings from Serbia. I'm speaking about the city of Devon. Devon is the largest coastal city in KwaZulu-Natal province with over 3 million citizens. The city is a favorable destination for travelers in search for sun, sea, and inspiration for literature. The city thrives on its warm, irresistible vacational atmosphere. The UNESCO has identified the city as a literacy creative city. This comes as a result of Devon being a place of birth for Chief Alfred Lutuli, who was the first African novel literate, and the city being built on the pillars of learning and literacy. The city of Devon reflects personality that inspires its people, encourages open-mindedness and limitless imagination. The city takes pride in its culture and communal values for its people. It strives on its creative potential, affording its people conditions that enables them to critically think, plan, and act within imagination in harnessing opportunities to address the city's contemporary challenges, not following the standardized solutions that foster individuality and creativity through learning and literacy. The city of Devon takes pride in the University of KwaZulu-Natal, which is located in Devon, is one of the few universities to offer a doctoral program in creative writing and has a strong independent publishing network, which offers a key platform for emerging literary voices. The city of Devon is among globally influential cities with its arts and cultural diversity, creative and talent of its people. Devon is a unique persona that makes it stand out from other cities as a UNESCO creative city. This city recognizes the important role played by literature, culture, and creativity in forging national identity, fostering social cohesion, and delivering socio-economic development. The city is known as the capital city of culture and modern literacy, appreciation and protection of nature. Various fairs, festivals, and conferences are held locally to celebrate literature. The most notable is the major time of Writer Literacy Festival that features Nobel laureates for literature and writers from every African nation. In the partnership with the University of KwaZulu-Natal, the festival seeks to encourage the development of new writing talent, especially among the youth, and foster dialogue with discussion, including human rights and inequality reduction. In this view, the Department of Arts and Culture has set up a special bursaries for local writers to attend international festivals. In addition, in an effort to advocate for linguistic diversity, the KZN provincial language policy promotes the equitable use of the city's official languages, which is English, Zulu, Xhosa, and Afrikaans within its educational programs. UNESCO shows that Devon, together with its sister city of Nottingham in the UK, provides opportunities to foster and encourage creativity, focusing on children through the South African Global Forum for Literacy Project and UK-based Storymatch initiative to promote literacy. The festival book project is an international book exchange program targeting children in vulnerable and remote communities. The Story Smash includes digital gaming workshops to enhance reading and writing skills, as well as facilitation the use of the new technologies and digital platforms. The city of Devon is not only about cultural aspect, but also about innovation and embracing new ways to address societal challenges. Devon inspires and mobilizes its residents and businesses to participate in the long-term planning process and create a shared vision for the future. The city, as indicated in the Devon Integrated Development Plan, that it aspires to be vibrant and creative city as part of its 8-point plan, which is viewed as being the foundation of sustainability and social cohesion. As a creative city of literature, Devon envisages to organize African International Literature Festival in tandem with Devon International Book Fair to enhance best practices and involve advocates, stakeholders for literature industry. The festival and also the Festival of Children's Literature through well-resourced schools promoting mother tongue literature and fighting low literacy levels among its children and youth. Strengthening cross-cutting approaches by linking the Devon Script Writing Festival with the Devon International Film Festival, promoting the magazine, online radio, bringing the voices of Devon writers to the world. Devon will, in the foreseeable future, continue to be the creative city through its diversity and use of literature. As a Devon is arguably a home of over 100 languages from Asia, Middle East, African, Europe, and other dominating parts of the world. It continues to be open for disparate arrays of people, cultures, to see colors of rainfulness of South Africa. Thriving in this city is one of its kind, the tapestry of mind-blowing creative outlook. Thank you.
Thank you, dear Thumbelile. It was South Africa. Now we know more about the South African city of Durban. I would like to remind you that BRICS Alliance today is a powerful group of 5 countries: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, covering 25% of the land and more than 40% of the world's population. The alliance is united not on the principle of territorial or substantive unity, but based on the similarity of strategic goals, while being in different parts of the planet where each country represents its own unique culture. Cultural and humanitarian cooperation is a part of BRICS life. Now, I'm giving the floor to Yulia Zaykova, head of the Department of Regional and International Projects of the Committee for Tourism Development of St. Petersburg. St. Petersburg, City of Gastronomy, Russia.
Good afternoon. On behalf of St. Petersburg Committee for Tourism Development, on behalf of our city, I'm glad to greet all the participants of today's meeting. And first of all, I would like to thank the city of Ulyanovsk for your kind invitation to take part in the UNESCO BRICS cooperation project. I'm sure that it will become a perfect space for exchange of ideas and interregional communication, international communication. So St. Petersburg is the cultural capital and a leading administrative, economic, scientific, and educational center of Russia. The historical center of the city and its unique place and park ensembles are included into the list of UNESCO World Heritage Sites, and it consists of about 4,000 sites of attraction, that is almost 10% of all protected monuments on the territory of Russia. St. Petersburg is widely known for its enormous creative potential, which is represented amongst others by more than 200 museums, more than 200 libraries, more than 100 theaters and concert halls, 60 cinemas, and more than 90 cultural and leisure institutions. However, St. Petersburg is also a city with unique gastronomic culture. The desire to draw attention to this side of the city's identity determined the choice of the creative field when submitting the application to the UNESCO Creative Cities Network in 2021. The preparation of the application was coordinated by the Committee for Tourism Development of St. Petersburg, together with St. Petersburg Convention Bureau. And it required a wide support of industry associations and culinary professionals. Now I would like to say a couple of words about the city's gastronomic background. This previous slide, please. Can you please switch to the previous slide? Thank you. Since St. Petersburg was founded in 1703, its gastronomic culture was closely correlated with the way of life of the imperial court and imbued with the spirit of innovation. The manifoldness of the cultural profile of the city that has formed as a result of the symbiosis of several national traditions, Russian, French, Italian, Swedish, German, English, Dutch, and other, was fully reflected in the unique character of St. Petersburg gastronomy. Many famous dishes of St. Petersburg cuisine arose due to the fruitful cooperation of outstanding Russian and European chefs. Another distinctive feature of the traditional St. Petersburg feast was so-called Russian serving, which, unlike the English and French ones, assumed not simultaneous but sequential serving of dishes. This approach, which made it possible to alternate tastes in the best way and maintain the proper temperature of dishes, gained great popularity, and by the 1870s became generally accepted in Europe. In the 20th century, St. Petersburg cuisine was influenced by Soviet culinary traditions, which led to the emergence of an independent gastronomic brand of Leningrad products, which were considered to have exceptional taste properties. Nowadays, such historical specialties as crumpets with powdered sugar, which is called pishki in Russian, beef stroganoff, and fried smelt can rightfully be considered the hallmarks of St. Petersburg. No wonder that the city took the first place in the list of the most popular destinations of gastronomic tourism in Russia. Next slide. Thank you. At the same time, gastronomy remains one of the key sectors of the St. Petersburg economy and a driver of the development of small and medium businesses, including local farms. There are more than 1,000 restaurants, cafes and bars in the city, which is more than in Rome, Budapest and Prague. And some of them have managed to gain recognition from reputable international rankings. For example, in 2019 and 2020, 7 restaurants of St. Petersburg were recommended by the guide 50 Best Discovery of the world's 50 best restaurants. In 2020 and in 2021, St. Petersburg's establishments entered the list of the 1,000 best restaurants of the world, according to the French gastronomic ranking La Liste. In addition, about 80 large and medium food enterprises operate in St. Petersburg, providing jobs for more than 24,000 people and generating more than 20% of the total output of manufacturing industries. Among them are legendary confectionery factories, which since the Soviet period have become a gastronomic symbol of the city. Next slide, please. An equal significant factor determining the role of gastronomy is in the daily life of St. Petersburg and international and local gastronomic festivals, scientific and professional industry forums. For example, in May, St. Petersburg citizens and guests of the city for the first time since the beginning of the pandemic had the opportunity to attend the Smelt is Coming festival, which is dedicated to the unique St. Petersburg fish specialty. Next slide, please. In autumn, our city will hold the annual St. Petersburg Restaurant Festival, which rightfully occupies a central place in its gastronomic life. Festival's organizers are very close to the idea of cross-cultural projects. And thus, in 2018, the event was dedicated to the celebration of the 300th anniversary of Nevsky Prospect, the main street of St. Petersburg, which has repeatedly become a protagonist of classical Russian literature. In 2019, St. Petersburg restaurants prepared tasting sets on the topic of theater, music, and dance as a part of the Year of Theater in Russia. And this year we are planning a similar collaboration with one of the UNESCO creative fields. Some other significant gastronomic events are presented on the screen. So in large measure, such an eventful gastronomic life is a credit for an active culinary community interested in international promotion of the city's gastronomic brand, as well as to a highly developed industry infrastructure. In St. Petersburg, there are about 20 higher and secondary educational institutions for future industry professionals, 50 culinary schools, 20 cultural and gastronomic spaces, and several thematic museums. Thus, the intensive development of the industry in all its diversity, from street food culture and street festivals to high molecular cuisine of a typical St. Petersburg style, combined with rich historical traditions, have made gastronomy one of the most promising cultural industries and predetermined our choice in favor of this creative field. Moreover, gastronomy is closely correlated with other spheres of the cultural life of the city. To give an example, a unique taste project has been launched in St. Petersburg. Its idea is to combine culinary presentations with thematic excursions, lectures, and film screening. The Mikhailsky Theater, the State Academic Capella, the Manege Central Exhibition Hall, the Rose Photo Museum of Photography, and a whole brilliant assemblage of art critics, popularizers of science, film people, and musicians are actively cooperating with the project. It's in the traditions of St. Petersburg gastronomy to refer to complex artistic, historical, and even olfactory images. For example, there are several literary cafes in St. Petersburg, which in the minds of citizens are associated with the names of famous poets and writers of the past. Summing up, I'd like to say that the openness of St. Petersburg cuisine, the accumulated experience of cross-cultural exchanges and synergy with other creative industries allow us to hope that participation in the UECC and will help to enrich the creative potential of St. Petersburg as a gastronomic destination. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you, dear Julia, for the amazing presentation of St. Petersburg. Thank you. The BRICS countries are represented in the UNESCO Creative Cities Network by the following cities: Russia, Ulyanovsk, Kazan, Kargopol, St. Petersburg; Brazil, Salvador, Juan Pessoa, Santos, Belém, Curitiba, Belo Horizonte, Paraty, Fortaleza, Florianopolis, Brasilia, Campina Grande; South Africa, Durban, Overstrand Hermanos, Cape Town; India, Mumbai, Varanasi, Hyderabad, Chennai, Jaipur; China, Yangzhou, Suzhou, Chengde, Changsha, Qingdao, Shenzhen, Beijing, Weifang, Shanghai, Wuhan, Nanjing, Macau. 35 cities. You will have the unique opportunity to get acquainted with most of these cities within the framework of the Creative Cooperation Program, UNESCO Creative Cities of BRICS countries, Art Together. And now, let me introduce the next speaker, Rajat Kumar Gaut, founder and Chief Executive Officer of Global OBZ, Hyderabad, City of Gastronomy, India. Can you hear me, dear Rajat?
Hi, warm greetings to everyone, and thanks for a lovely introduction. And thanks, BRICS, for the lovely opportunity. As the introduction goes, myself, Rajat Kumar, founder and CEO of Global Ops, and currently I'm in USA due to some work. So I would be representing the Hyderabad. So to begin with, Hyderabad is situated on the Deccan Plateau, India, and it's the capital of Telangana, and it's like fourth most populous city in India with a GDP of around $74 billion. And we are the UNESCO Creative City for the field of gastronomy. And next slide, please. Back. So we do have the population of around 7 million plus, and the recent survey polls say that it's around 9 millions with a GDP of 74 billion. And the city was founded in the 1591 with the fortified city of Golconda Fort. Until the 19th century, Hyderabad was the only city where diamonds were available, and even the famous diamond called Kohinoor diamond, which is upon the crown of UK's queen, is found over here. And the city is also known as the Pearl City due to its like found of pearls around the city and the trade it used to happen over there. And as you could see in the picture, this is the picture of the fortified fort called Golconda Fort. Next slide, please. And as we are speaking with a vast number of local and international inhabitants, the rich Hyderabadi cuisine has evolved into an interesting combination of local flavors and international recipes. And the whole enterprise is dotted with big and small, formal, informal, modern, and traditional. And this vernacular style of development has led to uncountable number of food outlets, along with some of the prestigious enterprises as such. And as you could see in the picture, this is one of the most renowned hotel in Hyderabad. It's called as Falaknuma Palace, and it's one of the 7-star hotel. And in the same palace, next slide, please. It even hosted some of the famous dignitaries and many renowned celebrities across the world. Even last time when the advisor of the US President Ivanka Trump came, she was hosted here. This is the world's largest dining table with around with the facility of 1 or 2 people dining at a single point of time. And it's from the Falaknuma Palace. And Next slide, please. Yeah, and I was saying that not just the small and big outlets, but also the ancient and keeping up with the modern. We do have festival with many 5-star and luxurious dining and food enterprises. Next slide. And this one is Novotel HICC, which is again India's largest event and convention center situated at Hyderabad. Over here, it's many events happen. It's not just in India, but it's also one of the most renowned places in the Southern Asia as well, which was constructed in partnership with MR Properties, which is in partnership with again UAE government as well. So this is one of the things. Next slide, please. Yeah, and as we are speaking about the cuisines and culinary, obviously, like I would like to present some of the delicacies that we would, Hyderabad is well famous for, and we couldn't, I mean, whenever we say Hyderabad, we can't just miss out on the biryani. It's like one of the most ancient recipes that's been started and founded here, and which is also nutritious. It's a mixture of many like ghee recipe and usually non-veg and predominantly rice. Next slide, please. So I would be just going on the with some of the delicacies, and this is again the veg biryani. And next slide, please. So this is again another famous dish from Hyderabad, especially famous for during the period of Ramzan, where most of the people, especially the Muslim population, which is the 30% of the city, goes on the fast. This is also serves as a very nutritious food, and it also gets exported to the many other countries like UK, USA from Hyderabad. This is one of the major delicacies. Next slide, please. And this is again another delicacy called kebabs. Next slide, please. This is one of the major attraction of the Hyderabad as well, Patar Ka Gosht, where the lamb is cooked up on the stone. Next slide, please. Again, as you know, India is majorly known for the vegetarian, right? Even in the Hyderabad, there's like no lack or that for the vegetarian food. Is the one that which is showing the picture is like one completely vegetarian meal with a sweet dessert, curd, and all the add-ons. Next slide, please. And this is another delicacy called harshalu, which is served during the festivals, and it can be stored for a while as well. Next slide, please. And this is another chaat which is famous, and there is this outlet in Hyderabad as well, Gogu Chaat, which is mostly with the cutlet, samosa, and other delicacies called pani puri over here. Next slide. This is another delicacy called dosa, and which are the local street food outlets which are present over there. And the fun thing is like these are available around the clock, especially after the midnight. These things get open. I mean, this outlet. So like 24/7 is like a food heaven for the residents. Next slide, please, and the tourists. And these are some of the desserts and the sweets famous over here. This is called bobatlu, where there's a sweet and stuffed inside. Next slide, please. This is kurbani ka meeta, another dessert. Next slide, please. And this is another dessert with the bread and sweet, and this is called as double ka meeta. Next slide, please. Okay, so speaking of the food and the culinary and keeping our traditions and the culture intact, and Hyderabad has been also majorly developing into the IT sector, whereas we are hosting some of the prestigious companies like Amazon's world's largest capacity office is in Hyderabad, and the same goes with the Google, and Apple has launched its new R&D. And the T-Hub is like our prestigious program of the Telangana government, where we incubate a lot of startups, not just from India, but across the globe. And as of now, this is a T-Hub or Telangana Hub is like world's largest innovation and co-working incubator space, where with a facility of 3,000 plus startups that could work, and with the partnerships, and so it's 30,000 plus more. And it's been recently inaugurated by the stalwarts and dignitaries across the globe. Next slide, please. And other than this, we also host some of the prestigious events and the conference. As I said, Hyderabad has been the capital for MICE and many international conferences and exhibitions. And one of the major event is India Joy, which is India's largest multimedia and entertainment digital festival, which would happen for a period of 7 days. With events ranging from multimedia, gaming, animation, influencer con, where the social media influencers do come and share the thoughts, and it happens for a period of 7 days, where from morning to evening, the workshops, knowledge sharing, all this happens, and followed by fashion show, music, concerts, and food fest in the evening, and the cocktail dinners at the night. Next slide, please.
Dear Rajat, you should finalize, please.
Sure. So I'm about to end. So the event is going to happen in the November 1st week, and the website is there at indiajoy.in, and you can also reach me. I'm sharing my personal email ID and phone number on the chat. Next slide, please. Sure. Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you, dear Rajat, for your incredible presentation. Thank you so much. Dear participants, I would like to ask you to turn your cameras on, and let's do common picture right now, because we are almost 70 participants, and after that we will continue our Zoom meeting. So turn your cameras on, please, and do screenshot or take common picture, please. Smile. Show us the positive emotion. You have half a minute for do it. Very important to turn on the camera. I'm very happy to see everyone. You are very amazing. So, dear participants, when writing your questions to the Zoom chat, please specify who exactly you are asking your question to. I see that not only the BRICS countries, but also other foreign countries are taking part in our meeting today. But our speakers are all from the 5 BRICS countries. And I'm happy to give the floor to Mr. Meng Ye. He represents the focal point of Changsha and is a specialist for international program of the Changsha Media Arts Center. Changsha, City of Media Art.
Hello, everyone. First of all, I would like to take this opportunity to thank our host, the city of Ulyanovsk, for providing such a good platform for creative cities of BRICS countries to deepen the mutual understanding for each other, so that we can share our experience and talk about future cooperation. Thank you, our host city. My name is Meng Ye. I'm the specialist for international program at Media Arts Center of Changsha. I'm delighted to meet everyone online on behalf of Changsha, the first UNESCO City of Media Art in China. Now, let me briefly introduce the city of Changsha to you. Changsha is a city of historical culture. It is the only city in Chinese history, the location of which has been unchanged for 3,000 years. It has rich cultural heritages such as Fo Ranzhen, Yuelu Academy, and Changsha. Next slide, please. Changsha is where young Mao Zedong studied. Chairman Mao, the founding father of People's Republic of China, has come out of here and led the Chinese people on the road of national independence ever since. Changsha is a city of happiness. In recent years, Changsha has been rewarded as the Chinese happiest city for 14 consecutive years. More and more people choose to live in Changsha. Next slide, please. The 7th National Census data in 2020 shows that the shows that the population of Changsha is well over 10 million, compared with 7 million in 2010. The population of Changsha has increased by 3 million in 10 years. Firstly, Changsha has strong foundation of education and scientific research. Next slide, please. Secondly, Changsha has rich cultural tourism resources. Next slide, please. And thirdly, the public cultural service system in Changsha is in full function and complete. Next slide, please. Changsha is a city of innovation and creativity. Firstly, the integration of industrial development accelerated. Next slide, please. Next one. Yeah, and secondly, Changsha has rich cultural tourism resources. Next slide, please. Thirdly, the public cultural services in Changsha is in full function complete. Changsha is a city of innovation and creativity. Firstly, the integration of industrial development accelerated. Secondly, the sense of cultural experience continued to increase. Changsha has organized a series of new media art activities such as Space Vacancy Plan, Sing of Point, Flowing Internal. Next slide, please. These immersive digital media art shows are dedicated to all citizens to have a great cultural experience at different times and locations. Next slide, please. Thirdly, the quality of urban life is continuously being improved. Media art is deeply integrated in all aspects of life, including architectural design, urban-rural planning, urban public space, and cultural product supply. It creates a creative atmosphere throughout the city, allowing citizens to participate. For example, digital firework light show, which combines creative fireworks, music performances, creative design, attracts nearly 7 million visitors each year. Fall in Love in Star City, drone digital light show, heart-shaped traffic light, pink zebra crossings in Changsha downtown area are receiving good comments from both local people and tourists. Next slide, please. For more than 5 years, the Changsha municipal government has introduced a series of policies and measures and accelerated the process of, based on Changsha's unique digital media art atmosphere plus rich cultural creative resources. In 2017, Changsha was fully recognized by Creative Cities of Media Art and was officially designated by UNESCO Creative Cities Network and became the first city of media art in China. For more than 5 years, the Changsha municipal government has introduced a series of policies and measures accelerating the process of building the city of media art, supporting the city of media art industry. Next slide, please. Next slide. In order to actively respond to the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and the Belt and Road Initiative, empowering the global youth, since 2017, Changsha, together with UNESCO Beijing office and Chinese National Commission for UNESCO, has successfully held International Youth Forum on Creativity and Heritage along the Silk Road many times. We call it the activity IYF for short. The IYF is in full exploration of Hunan culture. At the same time, discussing plans for innovative ideas and heritage protections with the international community. IYF activity currently attracts a total of 271 international youth from 111 countries around the world. This special event has become a new attempt of international exchanges and cooperation as the international youth visit Changsha and explore the real China. It shows the great value of cultural exchange, promoting the development of cultural diversity, and contributes to global youth connectivity, people-to-people exchange, innovation, and entrepreneurship. At present, the IYF is also a brand activity of UNESCO Beijing office in China. Next slide, please. Next slide. In response to professionals in the fields of media art, Changsha has carried out many international media art residency projects around art plus technology, and invited artists from the Netherlands, UK, Spain, South Korea, and other representatives of the other countries visit Changsha and created lots of artworks. Next slide, please. At the same time, in order to meet the needs of different ages, the Introducing Media Arts to Campus series of activities in Changsha has entered Changsha's universities, primary and secondary schools for 3 consecutive years, inviting students to visit the interactive media arts exhibitions to get close contact with various media artworks and encourage them to create their own media artworks. Changsha has been an active player on platform of UNESCO and actively participated in various activities of UCCM. In 2020 and 2021, we cooperated with media art cities to carry out city-to-city projects. Next slide, please. And also intercity projects with Viborg and Braga in Portugal, all of which have achieved good results. Next slide, please. This is the projects we have cooperated with other media art cities. Next slide, please. This is City to City 2020. Next slide, please. And we have cooperated with Viborg, and I would like to share a video, the video made by Viborg, if we may.
Demonstrate your screen, dear Mengye, but you should finalize your presentation, please.
Oh, okay. Maybe we can skip the video because it will take some minutes. Okay, let me continue. In the future, we hope to further cooperate with all my, next slide please, with all the UNESCO creative cities in the following area. First, the creative fireworks. Creative fireworks. Changsha hopes to promote creative fireworks to global creative cities. We will also combine local urban culture to design unique and charming creative firework shows, bringing creative digital firework performances and fashion experience to local people and their global tourists. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Next slide. Next slide. Second, digital video. Next slide, please. As one of the China's largest TV and video content production bases, Changsha has accumulated rich experience in video production and post-production with good industrial support in the gathering area of Malan Mountain Video Culture and Creative Industrial Park, which is also named as China V Valley. President Xi Jinping visited the park in September 2020 and put forward great hope. In recent years, governments at all levels have been given many policies and funding support to the V Valley. Third, digital media art. There is a great number of digital media art enterprises in China. In recent years, Li Yan's team, using poetry and traditional Chinese culture as the theme, has created numerous immersive digital media art shows, such as Sing a Poem, Original Flavor of Macau, Orange Isle, River and Snow, Original Changsha, etc. Also in the landmark of Haikou, the capital city of Hainan province, they helped to build for the city a new media art tourist attraction, Sing a Poem, Bell Tower for the local people. The fourth, artist exchange. Next slide, please. It is hoped that after the COVID-19 epidemic, our artists can cooperate with artists from other cities, and we also hope to see artistic installations.
Dear Mengye, you are over the timing.
Okay, thank you. We are eager to hearing valuable suggestions. I'm looking forward to working together with creative cities in the near future. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, dear Mengye. It was very, very colorful. Thank you. I would like to say that to those who joined us a little bit later, I would like to say that the Creative Cooperation Program, UNESCO Creative Cities, or the BRICS countries are together, is aimed at establishing a dialogue between the communities of the UNESCO network of creative cities of the BRICS countries, at generating new projects between the participants of the dialogue, at popularizing UNESCO values in the BRICS space. And now we will go to sunny Brazil again. I give the floor to Laís Vitória Cunha de Aguiar, coordinator of Global Town Parliament in Brazil, Brasilia City of Design, Brazil. Global Parliament.
Hello, everyone. My name is Laís Vitória. Thank you for the presentation, and thank you a lot for the opportunity of being here and speaking to you all today. So I'll be speaking about Brasilia, my city. Brasilia is a UNESCO design city, but also a World Heritage Site. So I believe it's also important to talk a little bit about its history, because although Brasilia, it's a young city, the idea of Brasilia has been around for 150 years already. Can you go to the next slide, please? Okay, so right now we'll speak a little bit about its history, its background. I think it's important first to know that Brasilia is a monument of modernism. So it was created during the 50s. Although it was created in the 50s, it is an idea, as I said before, that has been around for 150 years. So you have Dom Bosco's dream, which is the, how can I say? So Dom Bosco, he was a person here in Brazil who we speak a lot about. He had a dream he had a dream, and he said that on the 10th and 15th degrees in the Latin America, there would be a city of marvelous, the promised land and inconceivable richness. So, you have this on the biographical memories of São João Bosco. This was the first time that the idea of Brasilia came up, and Brasilia is a highly Catholic country. So I believe this had an immense influence. And this was around the 19th century, and Brasilia was only built on the 20th century. Can you go to the next slide, please? Okay, so as you can see here, this is an idea of, for example, this Francisco Adolfo de Varhangen, who was a Brazilian / German person who who lived here in Brazil, and he already said on the empire of Dom Pedro II. that he believed that changing the capital to where Brasilia is today would bring progress, because he thought that Rio de Janeiro, which was initially by that time our capital, it was too small and it wouldn't bring growth, and also that because it was on the coast, it was also some dangerous. And he was quite obsessed about it, so he traveled in 1877 to where the city is today. Which right now is between the lagoons Formosa, Feia, and Mestre. Can you go to the next one, please? Okay, so this idea was admitted, and other people. No, can you go? Okay, yes, this one. So this idea was actually brought as well by Olanda Cavalcanti. He was a senator who believed on the idea of the historian, which I spoke before. So the senator Olanda Cavalcanti, he presented a law project demanding that the new capital at the same location that Francisco did. And this was around the same time on the Second Empire. Can you go to the next one, please? Okay, so in 1891, when we already had the Republic in Brazil, the Senator Vigílio Damasio, he also presented a law project demanding a new capital at the same location. So as you can see, this is a current idea here in Brazil. Can you go to the next one, please? Okay, so right now we came to the president who actually built Brasilia. And Brasilia, it's important to say that it was built in only 3 years, from 1970 to 1960. He was politically struggling, so Brasilia was a good idea for him, because as you can see, the idea of Brasilia, it was already present on the other constitutions of Brazil. So the other presidents, they didn't have the same interest of making Brasilia happen as he did, because he was politically struggling, and there were many protests in Rio de Janeiro, so he wanted to change, because if he built Brasilia, so Brasilia, it's far away from, it's on the Middle East of Brazil, so it's far away from where most people live. And he wanted to make that happen as a way to actually stay in power as well, because it was far away from people. Can you go to the next one, please? Okay, so now I'll speak a little bit about who made it happen. There was a contest, and on this contest, Lúcio Costa, he won this contest. So he built Brasilia in the shape of an airplane. So we all have this idea of that in the 60s, they all thought that Brazil will fly, Brazil will become a developed country and all that. And we actually had the architecture was built by Niemeyer. Niemeyer, he is an architect of the buildings. He worked with Lúcio Costa, and he was a communist who actually in 1963, he won the Lenin Peace Prize. And I also thought that it was interesting to bring here Mariane Peretti, because she was the only woman who was present on the building of Brasilia, because Brasilia, it was all shaped on the mind of these two men, Lúcio Costa and Niemeyer. And Mariane Peretti, she did many walls and things which are actually quite beautiful that I will show you all later. Can you go to the next slide, please? Okay, so as you can see here on the slide, Brasilia, it was built as an airplane because of this idea that Brasilia and Brazil, it should fly and should become more developed with time. And actually nowadays, this is an idea which is widely criticized as well, because you think as Brazil as something that, you thought as Brazil as something that needed to be more foreigner and not more focused on the idea of Brazil and the idea of our own identity. Can you go to the next one, please? Okay, so I brought to you all some examples of this architecture, and I also brought it in all white and black because of its time that it was built. So back then, this was how you could see these images, right, in black and white. Okay, so we have these two sizes, as you can see. In one side, you have the deputy side, so it's open. It's open because it should be open to the people. It should be open to the people's idea. It's a younger chamber. And the other side, you have it closed. So it's the senator's land. It's where these ideas, these young ideas that come from the deputized, they should be filtered and taught, right? So, and I think it's also interesting to say that this was very well designed and on the modernism, right? Can you go to the next one, please? Yeah, so here we have the cathedral. It's quite interesting to think about the design of it, because when we talk about the design of the cathedral, we are talking about a church which was built by someone who didn't believe in God. So and as you can see, he thought, if I believed in God, how would a church be? How would it reach the skies? So what they did was they brought, as you can see in my hands here, he brought in his fingers, right? His fingers together, reaching the sky. So it's not actually connected to the Catholic idea of God, but it's connected to his own idea of God. So the hands connected to the skies. Okay, can you go to the next one, please? So now I'll speak why Brasilia is a design city nowadays. So Brasilia, you have the Brasilia Design Festival, the Brazilian Cinema Festival, the Brazilian Fashion Week, and between many other national and international events. But from my point of view, which is more important, is that we have a strong local development of cultural politics. So here on this first design, you can see some of these events. We have one of the oldest cinemas of Brazil, and it's a really beautiful one, and many events that are developed there, including events from different embassies. So we have cultural cinema festivals. For example, we had a Russian cinema festival before the pandemic, which was held there as well. So we actually use these places a lot for national, but also international events. So on the first image, you can see our National Museum. On our National Museum, you have many international events that are held there as well, and national events. On this case, I decided for the second festival, Brazilian Festival of Design, as we are talking about a design city. And on the last image, you can see the Brazilian Fashion Week. Can you go to the next one, please? Okay, so right now I brought to you all some examples about local investments on culture. So I will, for example, only on next week, we have many events, local events regarding culture here. And because this is a political investment, and I believe that it's really important that we keep investing on this. So only last month, we had our festival on literature, Brasilia Festival of Literature. And I brought to you all here some of the festivals that are being developed only this month, but we have it throughout all the year. And the focus of our policies are on the local. So we want them to develop themselves. And this is something that the government does well and for many years. That is to try to develop the locals, festivals, and culture in general. So on the first image, you can see a meeting of popular culture that it was held on 25 and 26 June on the center square of Paranoá. So this is another important thing, is that we don't focus only on Brasilia because we have other cities around. So the goal is that to decentralize our cultural festivals and everything. So you have these meetings of cultural popular culture, right, throughout different regions of Brasilia, not only on the center of Brasilia. The first ones which I brought, that are the national, international ones, they are really focused on the center of Brasilia because you have all the city that was really designed into modernism, and everyone wants to hold their international and even national events around those squares and those places, right? But when we are talking about local and when we are talking about the development of local culture, it changes. And right now on the second image, we can see on the 25 and on 26 as well, which was a festival of theater. Can you go to the next one, please? Okay, so on the 20 to the 28th June, we had the conference, the opening conference of literature. As I said, we held conference of literature here, and we held it every single year. And on the left side, you can see a project which is called Sertanejo com Repente, Sertanejo with Repente, which are, I don't know how to explain very well, because these are two music cultural activities in Brazil. So they are quite local, and we have many people who come from the northwest of the country here in Brazil, because they actually built the city. And that's why we also have cultural and local.
Excuse me, dear Laish, keep the timing, please. 1 minute,
Okay.
please.
Yeah, I'm almost over here. So when we talk about the sertanejo with repente, we are talking about different cultures from Brazil, but who actually also happen in Brasilia. Can you go to the next one, please? Yeah, so here on the next one, I brought to you all cultural workshops. So we have, for example, cultural and geographic workshops of the Brazilian Afro, the African Brazilian. And as you can see, it's all free. And so one of the goals is always to bring free cultural, local, developed locally from Brazil to Brazil, and from Brasilia to Brasilia. So our main goal is to develop it in Brazil and to the young Brazilians. And as you can see on the next one, it's workshops, free workshops. Can you go to the other one, please? No. Okay, before. Yeah, so on the second one, you can see workshops of percussion, so drums and stuff, but typically from Brazil, obviously. Can you go to the other one, please? Yeah, so here we have Integrated Arts of Brasilia, which was held from 21 June to 2 July. And these which I brought, they are only some and few of the events that we held here to Brazilians and on Brasilia. And I think that's it. On the next slides, you can go it very fast. It does just something additional. So here we have it, how it is actually looks like. The cathedral, the next one, please. Yeah, and so here you have inside of the cathedral it's actually what Mariani Peretti did. So you can see all these beautiful vitrals. That's her work. Can you go to the next one, please? Yeah, so here I brought just some examples of the design of Brasilia, so you can all see how it was beautifully designed. So here is the Senate, and as you can see, it was also beautifully designed inside. Can you go to the next one? Yeah, so here you have the Congress, which I showed before on black and white, and right now I wanted just to show it how it actually looks today. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, dear Laish. Thank you. We continue our meeting, and I think it would be great if the result of our program would be jointly implemented projects. For this purpose, we get acquainted here in Zoom, listen to speakers from different cities and countries, and look for like-minded people. If you have any ideas for collaboration, please write about it in our chat as well. I would like to mention that in Russia, there are several grant-giving organizations which support projects related to international cooperation, and they really help to put creative ideas into practice. And now we will go back to India, to the city of Kozhikode, which has applied for membership in the UNESCO Creative Cities Network. Adarsh Kunilam, Parliamentary Assistant of Sri M.K. Raghavan, member of the Kozhikode Parliament. So, Kozhikode, potential city of literature, India.
I hope I'm audible. Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. So, respected Diana Kovila and Project Director of the BRICS Russia Project Office, my fellow speakers, Tatiana, Nathalia, Yulia. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce all the names correctly. Mangi, Les Victoria, a beautiful audience, a warm good evening to all. Namaste. So I'm Adarsh, I'm from India, and I'm an analyst in Indian Parliament. I work as an analyst with various members of Parliament. So my city is called Kozhikode or Calicut. Calicut or Kozhikode. The name, it is called Calicut because when the British came to India, they were unable to pronounce the word Kozhikode. So they slightly modified it into the form of Calicut. And it also came after the textiles called calicos. Calicos was actually the name of textiles, the indigenous cultivated hand-woven textiles were called calicos, and that was the reason why the name Calicut came to being. So, like I said, there is nothing which can better deserve your patronage than the promotion of science and literature. This was not told by me, but by George Washington. So science and literature is always the most important thing that can promote the cultural linkages between the countries. So we have applied for the UNESCO tag of City of Literature. And what is the reason behind application for that is because Calicut has a very rich literary history. Now, talking about the literary history of India, first I have to tell you about India, a little bit about India, how it happened for Indians. We never had the habit of writing the literature on paper. We had a system whereby the literature or whatever literary heritage which we had, we used to transfer it from one generation to another generation orally. So that was how it was called. It was called Shruti and Smriti. I know these words are a bit difficult to understand. It is a bit difficult to pronounce also, but that was how the Indians were doing things. We never wrote it on a piece of paper. We were actually transferring it from one generation to another generation for a long time through orally, and that oral heritage has also been categorized as intangible cultural heritage to humanity by UNESCO. The chanting, which happens from one generation to another generation, how the literature got transferred. Then later on, we started recording all this in palmyra leaves or palm leaves or whatever we call it. Later in the just before the invention of the paper, we started recording it in the palm leaves. And Calicut University, which is one of the largest universities in India, it houses a very large collection of old palm leaf manuscripts, which dates back to 15th and 16th centuries. So that is like there are nearly 4,000, 5,000 records of very old palm leaves, which is written on palm leaves, not the present day traditional papers. So this is about the history of our literary heritage. Now coming to the contemporary and modern times, when you take the case of India, the highest literary honor award that is given to India is actually called the Academy, the Sahitya Academy Awards and Jnanapith Awards. So these two are the highest literary awards that is given in India. So Calicut city has produced a lot of literary geniuses, and amongst them, the two Jnanapith awardees are from Calicut city only. So we have a very rich heritage and tradition of writing, and that began long back. And like I said, I am not diving deep into the historical aspect of it, because history, there's lot much to talk about the history of the city as a whole. So we were initially ruled by a king called Zamorins. They were the local chieftains. They were the local rulers. But then came the Portuguese explorer Vasco da Gama, who first came to this part of the world. He came to the India because India had something called the spice. Calicut was the center of the spices in the world. It is due to the spices because the European countries, they had the cold and weather, and in order to preserve the meat, it was required to have the right amount of spices. And the Arab traders who were in Calicut were normally trading spices at a very large profit. And the Portuguese started the exploration, and they came to Calicut, and they kind of became part of the Calicut history and our culture. And then came the British, or the English as we call it. So the British Empire ruled this part of the city, and then we moved on to independence. So it is a very long process in history. And this cultural intermingling, I'm not telling about the entire historical aspect, but what has happened was this intermixing of these various cultures has helped in the mutual development of the literature. Always culture is the contributing factor to the development of the literature. So what happened was that a lot of words from the Portuguese language or became part of our language. Our words became part of the Portuguese language, and this was later taken over by English also. So all this intermixing led to the development of the literature of the region and literature, let's say the words, words. So from the spices, this spice was in very, very high demand across the world. So just about one particular word, we all say about the schools. Everybody say the school. School, the word has a Portuguese origin, which is escola. It is called in Portuguese as escola. Escola became school in English. And in Malayalam, we call it school or something, school, we call it. So this is the literary intermingling of culture that I'm talking about. So this has been happening for times immemorial in Calicut, with the Arabs, with the Egyptians, with the Phoenicians, with the Chinese, with the Europeans, and the British. So all these things, this mixing happened. So okay, there was some sound mixing. So in 1653, the Prince of Calicut, called the Zamarins, wrote a majestic work called Krishnanatam, which is actually epic dance drama that is still being practiced. This is important. In 1653, a work is written. It was a dance drama, and still that is in practice in Calicut and the temples of Calicut. So that is important. And there are, like I said, there are a lot of awardees from Calicut. And to name some of the literary stalwarts, which probably it will be very, the West, the Europeans may not have heard about these names, but still they are the most cherished writers in India. So, and today happens to be the birthday of one such legendary writer, who is M.T. Vasudevan Nair. Then there is N.V. Krishna Vairya, Uru, Tikodian Sanjan. There are a lot of literary stalwarts. And in the contemporary period. Now, Calicut is also the venue of the Kerala Literature Festival. And this is very important because this is the largest cultural gathering and the fastest growing literature festival in India, and one of the largest in Asia. And this happens along the beach side of Calicut. Calicut is blessed with a very beautiful beach, very large coastline. And it is an open event. It is open to everybody in the people. So it's like thousands of people gather here every year for being part of this event. There is discussion on literature, drama, arts, movies, music, so socio-cultural performances. Everything happens here, and this is one of the most sought-out literary events in India. So we have been hosting this for the past 6-7 years, and this year, unfortunately, last year we could not host it due to COVID pandemic, and we'll be hosting it in the January next year. So apart from this, Kozhikode or Calicut host a large number of discussions and debates on various contemporary issues, politics, arts, culture, everywhere. So everywhere you get a huge crowd, and people participates on a large scale in such discussion. We can say it is that a participative democracy happens in Calicut. So this participation is so unique in India, and it is so beautiful. It is a very good event that everybody should watch. These are all the major reasons why we have vouched for the City of Literature tag at Calicut. And I am also extending an invitation for each and every one of you to visit our city. So thank you, and thank you once again for this opportunity. I hope I'm not taken much of your time. Thank you.
Thank you, dear Adarsh. We wish the city of Kozhikode to become part of a large family of UNESCO creative cities. Dear friends, we don't have any questions in our Zoom chat. All the questions was answered by experts or organizers. So, dear participants, dear friends, I would like to thank all the speakers and participants of the first online meeting within the Creative Cooperation Program, UNESCO Creative Cities of the BRICS countries, Art Together. Our meeting was called Why My City Has Become a UNESCO Creative City. The topic of our next meeting is how the UNESCO status helps to promote the territory image. How the UNESCO status helps to promote the territory image. The meeting will take place in a month on August 15th at the same time. We will listen to new speakers from new UNESCO creative cities and learn a lot of interesting information. And now I wish everyone a great weekend and a good mood. Thank you and see you soon.